Santander transaction. Whoa, what the fuck is this? Hold on. Oh, that's for the bullets? Okay. I had to buy yeah. No, I had to buy ammo because I'm completely out. I
That was
wasted too
so
much.
out of context.
Yeah. That's the Santander
Can we keep
transaction.
that in the intro?
I mean, we
fuck
can.
Mac Murdock. Your ass is the Punisher.
We can't. I was gonna mention an
Just wear a
equalizer quote by
skull
accident. I was gonna say brick by brick, body by body. I could swear I imagined Frank saying that. No, because I ran out. It's too much in the range. You just run out so fast. It's like, and them Jones are like, holy shit, they're
Like,
too
fuck
expensive.
you, like, you know how like Frank Castle is getting the new like revamped logo, and instead of a skull, it's just your face.
It's the other thumb. What is that one where we're smiling like this?
Yeah, that's the Lunch Table Podcast.
Damn, I'm mad. I should have read that too. I wanted to read that so bad. I haven't gotten comics in a while, man. But that looks interesting. So much controversy. I don't know.
It's a hefty debate. I mean, I can understand it, but you know, symbology has a lot of context behind it, so it really depends on perspective.
I don't know if it's permanent either. Perhaps it isn't. I think it's just something with the storyline, especially. I don't know if they mention anything. Truly remarkable the mind of Marvel is.
Well, since we're already getting into it, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. Glad to be back after the Batman review. I hope you guys enjoyed our introduction to season 3. We loved making that video for everyone. And I see that Dylan has committed to the role of Daniel Rand. How are you, Dylan?
That's how you know it's been so long since we've recorded when my hair turns white.
Yeah, I know. No, that's the stress. That's the stress from editing the Batman review.
I feel like Danny Phantom.
Yeah.
Like after the accident, like his molecules get all rearranged.
After the Adobe accident I had.
Right.
That it wasn't letting me editing.
Yeah, I've gotten all different remarks. I've got Johnny Bravo. I've got Fred from Scooby Doo. I've heard it all. So
yeah, I know
trust
for your
me.
Instagram roasts.
But I guess I'll take Danny Rand as a compliment. But I guess I could do Human Torch too.
Well, guys, definitely spam Dylan on his Instagram, ramgram96, right? Definitely follow
just
him
giving
there.
away my whole. Well, I guess it's in the video anyway.
Yeah, so but
it's not
still,
like
you
we're
guys,
hiding it.
Yeah, I know. Round 2, if you
Yeah,
guys are watching this, spam.
Spam all your insults in the comment section.
How come we took so long, right? Why we're really busy, aren't we? We took so long
Because
after the
life.
Batman review.
Well, also that and Elden Ring has been like absorbing my life lately.
Elden Ring. And there's so much news to speak about. I think you have one to tell everybody, right?
Holy
Something
fuck,
great.
there's a shit ton of news that came out. I mean, obviously the biggest one was the Obi-Wan trailer. What were your thoughts on it?
That was so, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know it'll come out that day. I mean, they showed images first, right? I was looking on Twitter and like all these like nice ass images. All of a sudden they showed the trailer. It's like Christmas 2 times in one day. It was so great.
So
and
good.
Duel of Fates, man. Duel of Fates. We got Duel of Fates
Oh
back.
my god, when I tell you I was about to drop the I was like, you know, like what's that movie with like Journey when he was like, oh, here comes the operatic version. Like that was gonna be me. Like I was about to sing like Duel of Fates, like
that was so
like,
great.
They knew what they were doing with that trailer. It's like, especially like coming right after like Clone Wars and you know it's so weird because like seeing Luke that young, especially after we just saw Luke in Boba Fett, like in his prime, and then just seeing him like so young. It's like so sad. And when he does the whip.
Oh yeah.
I was laughing at that part.
That's so great.
Seeing Ewan back in his prime, and he looks so good, you know. He can really, it's so great that it's like he's decided to come back now because he's aged a little bit since Revenge of the Sith, so it's kind of like, you know, it fits so well for Obi-Wan because this is like a very like this is a time period where he's kind of like, you know, been through a lot of stress and, you know, PTSD obviously from, you know, Mustafar and the Clone Wars. So it's you can like see it in his face, but yeah, like what do you think of like seeing like the other shots with like the Inquisitors? I know are a big discussion right now. Like what do you think of their look?
I think well, I'll tell you what, it was the time of like after Return of the Jedi, you know, and like a lot of stuff in the future. I mean, at least later on in the future. Now it's the time for the prequels. I hope we get more live action stuff and seeing them was wonderful. I seen some recognizable characters from the comics and video games. Also from Star Wars Rebels too. I think that's noteworthy. I think anybody who wants to get into Obi-Wan and learn more about the Inquisitors, definitely check out Star Wars Rebels. It's a great animated series as well, and I think that'll like also participate in Ahsoka coming out soon. So, but seeing them, I do have a little bit of gripes with the Grand Inquisitor. He looks weird. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why. Like his alien species has like a tall head. So why did they do?
It's weird
that?
because like the Utapauans or Utapawians, I don't know how to say it, but they look really good in Revenge of the Sith. So it could just be like the way it was shot, or maybe the lighting wasn't good. Maybe they'll fix it like when we see it like better in the show. But yeah, it looks kind of weird. Like even his eyes, like they should be a lot like more yellow, like almost like Sith like, kind of like Darth Maul's in a way. But I don't know, it looked kind of weird. Like, and I think Jason Isaacs voiced him in Rebels, so I'm surprised they didn't try and like cast him.
Oh wow!
Kind of like how they did with like Cad Bane, where they had the original voice actor. So I'm surprised they didn't, because I think like Jason Isaacs could have like pulled it off like a great like because he plays a lot of villains too in like shows. So I'm surprised they didn't like try to get him to like like wear the makeup and stuff. But I don't know, looks interesting. But some of the other Inquisitors, like that female Inquisitor that we saw in
Right.
Tatooine, I haven't seen her before in the comics.
Never,
So
yeah.
I'm wondering if she's a new character, like completely. I think we saw, was that Fifth Brother with the hat?
I believe so. Yeah, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I was surprised actually, because yeah, I mean he kind of looks a little different from the comics,
Mhm.
but I'm not gonna nitpick and gripe over it. I mean, just seeing them on screen is a treat enough for me. But yeah, and then obviously we're gonna see Hayden back, so I'm excited.
That's why I think they put Duel of Fates there too. Like I think it's just paying homage to the time that Obi-Wan and Anakin spent together as well. And I think that this will Duel of Fates, it's in the name. I really think that I heard we're gonna get a rematch. So I think, and anyway, Darth Vader, like in the comics, especially guys, check out the Darth Vader comics. You'll see a
It's a
lot of
beautiful
Inquisitore.
line. Yep.
Yeah, it's so like so many like insights in the Inquisitors. And also like I think Darth Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, they had like a beef too in the comics, which is something interesting.
They did at first, but I think they both serve the Emperor in different ways.
Right.
Which I think they're gonna explore more in this show. Because I think they mentioned like, because Obi-Wan is gonna have like 3 different like perspectives. I think obviously Kenobi, and then the Inquisitors, like their side of it, like hunting Jedi and stuff, and then it's gonna be more about like Darth Vader. So we're gonna see like and it's a limited series, so it's only gonna be like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how much we're gonna see like in those episodes. Like they have to be at least an hour long, just to get that much depth into it. Because remember, this is a very specific time period, and there's a lot of lore to explore in this time period. So I'm really like excited to see like what they can do with it. But I just hope at the same time it doesn't take away too much, kind of like how like Mando took away from Boba a little bit. I hope like having the Empire like doesn't take too much away from Kenobi's story. But I don't know. But we have other shows coming out too. The Boys dropped season 3, right?
Yes. And
Season
the
3
Boys
trailer. So
the Boys Diabolical was ass, to be honest. I watched it, I didn't like it.
Really, I didn't watch it. I heard mixed reviews about it.
Yeah, I didn't like it that much. I didn't expect it to be like there was only one comic booky like episode. That's it. Other than that, it was like
Yeah, I saw like one episode was like really like loyal to like the original comic book.
Yeah. I wish we could see like a show like that, just like an animated like Invincible type show, but just based on the comics. I'm down for that, like hardcore. I mean, that's cool. I can't wait to do the reviews for that. The trailer looked amazing as well.
I love the song from Imagine Dragons that they use.
Yeah.
My patience is waiting.
There you go. It's great. The Boys, that's coming in June, I believe June 3rd. I forgot, to be honest with you. But
I think June 3rd, yeah.
Yeah, and a little news for you guys as well. We're also going to be doing, like we told you before, Moonknight reviews, but expect like scheduled reviews like about on either Friday or Saturday, like around that time for Moonknight reviews to drop week by week, obviously, which is gonna be really fun. And Halo, that's gonna be cool because I'm a big fan of Halo, and we could also learn a lot from this new different universe, different take from the show. So I can't wait to do reviews for that. So those episodes are going to be a little bit delayed each week, around like Friday, Saturday, but you guys could obviously expect it still the same week. So if you guys like our content, we really appreciate it. Drop a like, sub, and yeah.
Definitely. So keep your ears and eyes peeled, guys. We got some great content coming for you. But while we're getting into it, let's get into this awesome episode that we have for the Defenders. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast with Dylan and Akram. I know we haven't recorded in a minute, but we're glad to be back. We got a special episode today for you guys. Since it was announced that the Defenders are now leaving Netflix and returning to Disney Plus, we kind of wanted to revisit the Defenders. It's a popular show. I mean, it's had a cult following since its inception. Akram and I have been devout followers of the show since it first came out. Actually, I think our senior year of high school, that's when we started watching it. We got into Daredevil and the other shows. So it's if you ever want to get into more of superhero shows, even if you're I don't know, because it's a weird tie into the MCU, but it's got its own identity, which I think is really cool. But yeah, so today we're going to be touching on some of the shows and what we expect to see from future projects. But let's start with, I guess, season 1 of Daredevil, which really where it all began was the Iron Man of the Defenders universe. So Akram, what were your thoughts? What do you remember from season 1? And even from the other seasons of Daredevil.
Yeah, I think that the whole series of Daredevil on just season 1, I felt it was definitely the turning point. I felt like they went to Netflix on purpose because they knew they wanted to do something gritty, and it was something surprising because the MCU at the time didn't really have any elements like that. So it really was revolutionary in terms of superhero shows as well. I mean, a lot of other shows, they kind of copied maybe the same tone and theme of Daredevil and the fighting as well. I felt actually really Captain America the Winter Soldier. Daredevil actually started, I remember at the time, because I remember I was still in high school with you, and I remember it was Age of Ultron. I saw the trailer for Age of Ultron, and then I heard around that time Daredevil season 1 just came out, and it was such a great combo because everything was so dark. But yeah, the fighting style of Captain America, that choreography,
amazing choreography.
Yeah, and here we have that Raid-esque type of choreography that was really contact fighting. It was something that was really gritty, and I feel because of Daredevil, it really paved the way for these other Netflix MCU shows, especially The Punisher, I'd say, with fighting scenes and just tone. So, but yeah, I love Daredevil. One of my favorites, I'd say top 10. It's probably up there on the list of Marvel shows in general. But tell us your thoughts on what you thought and how influential was the show to you as well.
Well, like you said, it was very revolutionary at the time. I mean, the only other show that was like it, I guess, was Arrow. I don't remember if The Flash was out by that time, but we really didn't have many superhero themed shows that weren't animated. So seeing it in live action, it was such a great experience because, I mean, obviously the Marvel MCU characters were big screen, right?
Right.
But I think I've mentioned this before. I feel like the MCU films kind of were more oriented towards the family, so it could be for adults and kids. But when we get to Daredevil, it's very, like you said, very dark, very gritty, very mature. We get into a lot of motifs and very grounded adult themes like law and criminality and just grief and vigilantism and all these great grounded themes that now we can see in movies like the Batman and stuff. But yeah, my fondest memory, I guess, it's one of those groundbreaking shows. I think it's really what launched Netflix in a way, because I think Netflix wasn't doing too many original TV shows at the time. Well, before that,
Yeah.
I can't remember too many originals, but I think Daredevil is what kicked off all these streaming platform spin-off shows. Now Amazon has The Boys, which ironically some characters laid over from the Defender series.
Right.
But yeah, the choreography for Daredevil was amazing. The entire cast, obviously like Charlie Cox, Deborah Ann Wall, Vincent D'Onofrio, they really filled their character shoes so well, and it was great seeing like their portrayals on screen, and like just like oh my god, it's like the drama, like it just like you really felt it. It's like it worked so well for a TV show. Like I could like a lot of people at the time were comparing Daredevil the show to Ben Affleck's version in the movie, and I for the most part I think Ben Affleck's version was okay, but I think you know Daredevil like kind of fits the realm of like Batman, where it's like he has to be like two different people. Like he has to moonlight as like a public standing citizen of the law, but at the same time he has to moonlight as a vigilante. Yes, he kind of has to bend the law a bit. So what I loved like season one because like it really like well I mean it set the tone for the Defenders shows to come, but I think season one in particular was really nice just because it had its own identity and it really like established like the lore of like uh Daredevil, but also like, it just felt so like grounded in reality. Also, like I feel like this could actually like take place in like New York, like just like some underground like mafia like taking over, and then like just like the vigilantism. But like choreography, as you said, was really nice. I mean, Daredevil obviously is known for its long hallway shots, and it's really like groundbreaking when you see like all these shaky cam action scenes nowadays. But I think that hallway scene was like really what defined the show, and really like separated it from like MCU movies. So it was great like seeing like the fights, and they're so raw, they're so bitter, and I think like I think that's Charlie doing all the stunt work.
For the most
Um,
part, yeah, probably.
for the
Yeah, I
most
think.
part.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just felt like he really like put his all in like those different scenes, and obviously like the action got bigger as we got into like season two and season three, and I think season two was like my one of my favorite.
Oh
A lot of
yeah.
people don't like season two because of how split it was between like the Punisher story and Elektra, but actually I like seeing like how divided and conflicted that Matt was. Like
Yeah.
he's trying to live like two separate lives, but which season do you think was like the strongest for like Daredevil?
Yeah, I think season two because I am a big fan of the Punisher, and also I love Daredevil, but I felt like seeing an MCU version of Punisher that I always wanted to see, he just dropped right in there. So I think that that's why I enjoyed it a lot. I like the conflict that Punisher had, and I like what John Berthel did with the character. As in terms of like Elektra, and like he's split between Elektra and Karen. And just trying to live an average life, but then he starts realizing that maybe he just can't. Maybe he has to commit to a particular life, right? I felt like that was really strong point of views from everybody. Although Foggy was like kind of annoying too, like when he was like he
Yeah.
wanted to like at first no, I mean like at first he was like saying like in season one I believe like oh I'm gonna call the police, I'm gonna call them whatever. I was like he was such like a Skylar from like Breaking Bad at first, like seriously if you think about it, but like no, I love Foggy. Season two, I think, was the strongest. I love Elodie Young's portrayal of Elektra as well. I really thought that was really fun to see. Although I want to see more of a comic accurate costume for her. But I feel like they did swap out the parts more black than red. I guess maybe trying to show her character or something like that. I don't know, it could be some like symbiotic relationship between the
Mhm.
costume and her. But um, yeah, season two was great. I feel like it was a great way to introduce obviously the Punisher, but also a great way to escalate certain things that will happen in different shows as well. And the great thing about these Marvel Netflix shows is that they're very self-contained. As opposed to Marvel's Agents of Shield, where Agents of Shield started after Iron Man 3, I think in 2013. That was supposed to be like the pickup crew of like every other movie, and it felt like they were on a budget, and you don't want to feel like you're on a budget when you're watching something. You kind of feel you want to feel like it's really like a part of this other property. And so Daredevil, what they did was they didn't so much try to encapsulate the whole MCU in one show and these bigger world related events. It was just a simple, intimate conflict that happened, and I really did
Yes.
appreciate that. Yeah, so
Hmm.
that's why I think these Marvel Netflix shows were important at the time, and obviously we'll talk about a little later. Now these shows will play a bigger part in the MCU, which I'm glad to see, and I can't wait to see these characters that are so dark and bitter, as you said before, interact with these lighter tone type of characters. Um, that's my Amazon things talking right now. Sorry if you guys can hear that,
No,
but
but that's so true what you said about like
yeah,
the self-containment thing. Because what I think was what I liked about the Defenders series was like it wasn't so dependent on the MCU, whereas like Agents of Shield was just like, oh, it was just basically like the effects of whatever Marvel movie came out, like obviously Winter Soldier, and like all the other movies. Like it was like, oh, okay, we're just dealing with the after effects of that. But like the Defender shows were like it was its own thing. Like they were dealing with their own problems. Once in a while, they would mention like the Battle of New York. I think that's the only thing that really like tied it
oh my
to like
god,
the
yeah,
to the bigger MCU.
always, yeah,
But I like that. I like that it felt like it was very universe and world building because it really felt like these were street level heroes. They had their own problems, not big enough that they needed the Avengers, but like there were still problems that they had to deal with, right? And just like I was talking about, like the motifs, like just like the themes, like each character was like dealing with, felt very relatable. Just
yeah.
like how each one was like going through like different. We'll talk about more like each like hero, like what they went through. But Matt was definitely going through like identity crisis in like season 2 and 3. He was definitely trying to fit where like he could still be Daredevil, but also try and live the life of Matt Murdock. And he plays such a good like Charlie Cox. He like that court scene, the first court scene we see him in. He's so natural. He feels like he's been like studying like attorney or like law degree in like 5 minutes, and he just like he nailed it from the first scene we see him. And the court scene with like the Punisher. Oh my god, I still remember that.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
burning my mind. It's like I liked it.
Yeah, I know. I
Like
was
John
like
Bernthal.
so.
Oh my god, it's like one of those like great performances that you only get like once in a while. But season 3, well actually like we should also mention like the suit also,
Oh yeah, it's like an
because the
RPG. I
suit,
know.
yeah, like the evolution of the suit from like season 1 to season 3 felt like it kind of way like the suit was like Matt too was going through its own transformation in a way. So I love that they kept the black suit in the first season, from the comics. Obviously it's like that's his Batman year one, basically, where he's got like he's I think he's called like the Black Mask, or like the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, whatever.
Mhm.
But it just feels like something like you would have to do, like you'd have to make your own costume, or like, and I think like he's been trained by Stick, played by Scott Glenn, so he kind of has to adopt like these very like traditional or like ninjutsu or shinobi ways, right?
Right.
But I love that fight with like Nobu that we saw. That was like one of my favorite fights from season 1, just
Right.
because like it was so raw and gritty. But like, and then season 2, like there weren't too many memorable fights. I mean, obviously we had the Hand come back. Um, the Punisher had his own scene, like in the
Mhm.
jail scene. That was his own hallway shot. And then Vincent D'Onofrio, I feel like, he felt so menacing. Obviously, we got him back in Hawkeye, but like, what do
Yeah.
you think of like his performance, like in this show?
Well, I think that he gave a different take on Kingpin, right? And that's the thing. It's very submersed in realism as well, and it's not just trying to pay these homages to comic books. It's trying to get these characters to be real people, and it makes sense for this version of Kingpin to act the way he does. And Vincent D'Onofrio did a phenomenal job, I believe. He's very memorable, like. You tried to kill Vanessa, or that our favorite scene with Ben Urich where he's like, "I'm not here to speak with you.
Kill
I'm
it.
here to eat you." Well, not exactly like that, but you get the gist. He's wonderful. I was so glad to see him in Hawkeye. I think he was the first character as well to be introduced or confirmed to be in the MCU. And we kind of, me and you, we kind of like speculated on that when we were doing reviews for that. So yeah, he's so powerful in the role as well, but so like in a way so delicate and like unhinged here and there.
Mhm.
It's very complex. It's very scary. And
Yeah,
all,
he's very vulnerable
yes,
at this like he plays such a threat. But when you realize like what he has to do to keep his power, because remember, he's also like he's part of like a council of like like crime lords, so he has to deal with Madame Gao.
Boo.
Boo. One of my favorite. I don't even think she's in the comics, but or maybe
Yeah.
she is. I don't know. But he also had to deal with like the Yakuza, and obviously there were like Leland, who's actually the owl in the comics. Funny
Mm.
enough, I found that out recently. So it's just like little things like that. Like I always love like going back to. But yeah, he has to like maintain his power. Like he's not just dealing with Matt. He's also dealing with outside threats like the Russians and like all these other like factions that are like vying for power. So like, and then just seeing like the Machiavellian like storyline where it's like he's like the last one standing in the council. And then I don't think he gets the white suit until season 3, but
Yeah.
you can see like he's transforming slowly. And I love that they included like his childhood backstory, because normally like some villains like you don't see like their early childhood or like that early on like their motivation. And that's why I love Daredevil as a series, because you got to see in depth each character's like storyline, with Matt when he was a child, dealing with his father, and his father had to make some hard decisions, and that kind of led to like what him being like a vigilante kind of. But then like Kingpin, you see his side of the story too, right? You see like him as a young child, he kind of had like a similar situation to Matt, but his father was more abusive, and I think that kind of like bled over into his own transformation as a character too. So
Great
I just
points.
yeah, like seeing like that, just like, and we saw that with like other characters too. But any more points that you had for Daryl?
Well, yeah, and season 3, like in general, season 3, last season of Daredevil, unfortunately, but there are some news that maybe Dylan will tell you a little bit later. But season 3 was kind of like bittersweet as well, because it ended obviously and it didn't come back. But also, it gave something to Kingpin that we have like a lot of questions also, like how did that conflict got resolved in Hawkeye, or like before the events of Hawkeye as well, because we did see him in Hawkeye, right? But it was such a powerful, like, I think season. It felt kind of like Dark Knighty in a way, like so much like stuff going down with the police, and I also had to give credit to obviously Dexter, or Dex Poindexter, or whatever his name is, Bullseye. Basically, I felt like he was so great too. Like definitely far from Colin Farrell's approach of Bullseye. This one was like so psychotic. I just loved him. It was such like a weird like thing that he had going on, especially with that girl that he was stalking.
Well, it's funny
Especially
because he didn't start out as psychotic like in the comics.
no,
You think like he's already like a psychopath. He started out like a normal dude, like Matt and Vincent, which was so funny. And then he slowly became, because of Kingpin's corruption, he kind of just like turned into this like awesome villain.
well, in Kingpin's mind too, he was manipulating him because, well, Dex was like, he had issues, childhood issues, right? And he killed his coach when he was just a child on purpose, right? And the whole point is to unleash yourself, be your true self, right? And obviously we did the Batman review and we talked a little bit about the true face of Bruce is actually the mask. And so here, like when he put on the suit, like I was kind of like mad he didn't get a bullseye suit. Like I was hoping a bullseye suit later on.
They kind
Maybe,
of teased it with his eye,
yeah,
and the
but
hat when he was a young kid.
right, yeah. Well, there you go. But like, yeah, that character, I feel like we could see a lot more of that character. Hopefully, I think there's a lot more to explore. I mean, that cliffhanger alone was something that we'll probably see later down the line. And if rumors are true, we'll get to see more of Daredevil and She-Hulk as well. I mean, we talked about that before in a previous news discussion. She-Hulk probably will have Matt in a yellow and red suit. Let's see how
Ooh.
that looks. That's gonna be cool, right? And they're sleeping with each other, which is really cool because here's the thing, it's not because of that, it's because me and Dylan were talking about this before we were recording, but it's like it's a very meta thing where like Netflix Marvel shows kind of like introduce the violent side, and they kind of brung them in to into Disney finally, and it's like introducing this gritty, like sometimes
There's no
disgusting
censorship.
thing. Yeah,
No bars held.
yeah, and Disney Plus, where a platform where you'll think like they wouldn't put that there, and they put it there. So the sky's the limit now for other Disney projects, and hopefully Blade actually will be one of those dark and gritty type of movies. somehow as a movie. I don't know why, but yeah. So those are my thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts for Daredevil season 1 to 3?
Well, I think also just the supporting cast was really cool. Foggy, and then the guy who plays Phil Urich, I forget his Avandi Curtis Hall. That's his
Yeah,
name. So many memorable, and the guy who played Agent Nadim in season 3. Like, there's so many like little characters like that aren't even in the comics in the show, but they have like such important roles to play.
yeah,
Like in the show, that's what really like makes it like a TV like drama series, and I really appreciate that. I really like felt like it wasn't so centered on like Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, and like the main characters like the Punisher or like Bullseye. Like the little characters like made such an impact, because like even like what's her name, Karen, like when she went through her own transformation, right? Because in season 1 she was so vulnerable and helpless, that she had to go to like these like freelance lawyers, and now in season 3 she's becoming like an investigative journalist, and she's bleeding into other shows like The Punisher, and she's trying to like solve cases that like Matt can't solve, right? And then like Foggy also became like his own thing. He went to Jerry Hogarth's firm, and then he kind of like did his own thing, so he kind of like matured in a way. So I love like seeing like everybody like at the end of season 3. It was bittersweet, but at the same time they became totally different people that they were in like season 1. And I think like Matt had the biggest transformation. Just like he wasn't even like dealing with like just like his identity. It's like I think season 3 happened after Defenders, but we'll get
yeah.
into that later. So he was kind of like having like struggles like his religion and like his identity, and like does he even want to become Daredevil anymore? Does the world still need Daredevil? So season 3 I really appreciated, because it was such like a gift. It was almost like reading like an actual comic book. But I mean, Daredevil as a whole, like the series was awesome. Definitely check it out if you haven't. It's such a good, not just a segue into like the Defender shows, but like just great television. It really like set the tone for like future like shows, not even just in Marvel, but like DC and like certain animated shows. Just the way that it was shot and portrayed. But moving on, let's get into some of the other shows. So obviously, after Daredevil came out, Jessica Jones was the next big show, starring Kristen Ritter as the titular character. She plays a private eye, but she also has some metahuman powers, which was cool. So I like this show because it was similar to Daredevil, but in different ways. It was kind of more freeform, and it was dealing with this more not like upstanding citizen, but this more like private and just like rebellious kind of like Joan Jett character, where she did her own thing and she didn't really like care like about anybody, but she's still trying to help people, but at the same time just pay her rent, which I really like. But Akram, what were your thoughts on Jessica Jones?
Yeah, I have to be honest. It was one of my least favorite shows on Netflix. Obviously on Netflix, but I did appreciate the certain themes that were happening. And I think that one of the most notable highlights were like obviously you have Kilgrave, I guess Hellcat as well,
Yes.
or Trish Walker,
Hmm.
and we got an introduction to Luke Cage, right? And so that was pretty cool, and I like how they were kind of connected through the past, Luke Cage and Jessica, in a way through Kilgrave. So I liked the show for what it was, and it was the last Marvel Netflix show to be released. So it was kind of weird, and I feel like in a way, like the whole show in general was like just Jessica uh, trying to find peace and trying to find a way to be a better version of herself, because she always doesn't like when people call her a hero. And I felt like season 3 finale was good, was really good, because it kind of like summed up like her path. It was pretty like I don't see where it would go from there. I don't know what else you would do, because I don't know how much source material they would go off of with Jessica Jones as well. I mean, and again, one of the staples from the MCU is there's so many like little landmarks, right? And so obviously Alias Investigations is one of them. So I thought that was really great. But in general, I wasn't like extremely like attached to Jessica Jones as a show, but I did appreciate my time with her, and I did appreciate certain elements, like certain characters, like what's his name, the Patriot guy, which I
Oh,
wish I seen
Nuke.
more of. What was his name?
Hmm. Nuke.
Nuke. His name was Nuke. He's a fucking
Wasn't that his
badass
name in the
then.
comics? The dude with the pillar, right?
Right. He was
Yeah.
supposed to, like, even in the comics, he fought like Captain America and stuff like that. I mean, I kind of wish they didn't throw away certain characters. 'Cause I actually did like his character. He was very like unhinged and like very like scary. But other than that, there's not much for me to say about Jessica Jones because I haven't. I don't know. I just don't feel like it was like the most greatest show to introduce new elements to the MCU. Even if like other shows are really self-contained, still this character isn't like really somebody like grandiose in
Mhm.
Marvel Comics in general. But you probably have different opinions than I do, so let's hear
Well,
them.
I thought season one was really nice because, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, because of Kilgrave. Kilgrave was such a good villain. Such a great contender to the Kingpin. He was just like, and it fits so well for Jessica's character because Jessica embodies like, the strong, like independent woman, and then like Kilgrave is such like the manipulative, like toxic, like ex-boyfriend. So I think it in a way they just like they play off each other so well, and their chemistry like on screen. And David Tennant, obviously, I loved him as the Doctor in Doctor Who,
Oh
but like
yeah.
him as a villain coming back, and I know he's in Good Omens too. I gotta watch that show
Oh yeah.
too.
Right. He is. Yeah.
But he plays such a good villain in this show, and like really like you feel like his first like appear, and it's so great the way they built him up because you really like only get like name drops
Right.
in the beginning, like and he's such like a huge part of her past and like her like even before, well, this was after she got her powers, but the way he manipulates her into doing his own, like it's like in like like slavery basically, like he's mind controlled her into doing like anything he wants, and he's just another toy to her. It's just like she's not like the other girls that he's manipulated before because she has superpowers, so she can be a weapon as well as a tool, right? So I just love the little like moments between them, and then I think like season two kind of fell off for me. It wasn't like the greatest story, but I did like that we got to see more of into like her past,
Mhm.
dealing with like issues with like her mom and like how she got adopted, with Trish's mom. And I think Trish was going through a lot of like, identity issues too in a way. But I didn't like her character too much, to be
Really?
honest with you. I feel like she basically had everything she wanted. And I think that really plays to her character because she was so envious of Jessica. Like no matter how low Jessica was, at the end of the day, she had powers, and that's what made her special. And she has such a good heart, and that's why people like see her as like a hero. And I think Trish wanted to like be viewed that way. She didn't want to be like this like goody two shoes princess that her mom like dressed her up to make like good on television and everything. I think she kind of just wanted to be like her own. She wanted to build her own identity in a way like how Jessica does, right? Not someone do it for you. But I think other characters in this show were good. What was the other? It was like Malcolm. I forget his
Malcolm. I
name.
liked Malcolm a lot, to be honest with you. I did.
Yeah,
I did like Malcolm a lot.
yeah, he had a good transformation because I think he ends up
Yeah.
working for Jerry too. And it's so funny,
Hogarth.
like Jerry has like such a bigger role in the show than she does in Daredevil, and I think that's where like Jessica Jones really starts the beginning of like the characters like start bleeding into other shows too because we
Mhm.
also I think we had Turk too from
Oh yeah.
Daredevil. I think he was also, oh, and I forgot to mention Rosario Dawson, Night Nurse.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
forgot Claire Temple. Yeah.
yeah, she's in like every show. She's like
Right.
the Phil Coulson of the Defenders.
Yeah.
That's what we used to call her back in the day. But
Yeah.
she makes an appearance, like she's basically helping like every vigilante. But yeah, I think overall it was okay. But yeah, I really think season one was the strongest. But it's a cool show. It's very mysterious. Feels like a noir movie kind of.
Yeah.
And so funny because like certain characters like are doing bigger things now. Like I think Hope, um, played by Erin Moriarty.
Oh yeah.
She was like in the first episode. Now she's Starlight in The Boys now, and also
Yeah.
Colby Minifie. She played Ashley, and she was also Robin in Jessica Jones. But yeah, so moving on. Unless you had any other thoughts on the show.
Oh well, just I think it's great. I mean, strong female characters as well. And I think that that was great. Nobody really relied on anybody, at least if they're the main characters. And yeah, exactly. You said your points were spot on for Jessica Jones. It is what it is. It was kind of one of those shows where like you pass through it, and if you really like Jessica Jones, there you go. But it was its own. I think it was like way more self-contained than the other Netflix
Oh,
shows, believe it or not.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But I think I just also love how like Kristen Ritter like portrayed Jessica.
oh,
Like I
she's
really
great.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't see anybody else but her just
Right.
playing because she's such a big middle finger to everybody in the show.
Right.
I think that's like so spot on for like Jessica's character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the show. It's still a memorable Defender show. But moving on, we also have, of course, as you mentioned, Luke Cage made an appearance in Jessica Jones, and then he kind of had his own spin-off show, Luke Cage, um, which I really loved. I loved the first season when it came out. I loved the little, you know, tribute to like old school like hip hop. Like every episode is named after like a song from like a famous artist like Eric and Rakim or like Wu Tang. But yeah, Luke Cage goes through his own journey in this show, and he starts off trying to. Well, it's so funny because like he starts off being so free and independent, and then he ends up in prison. So I think that's so
Yeah.
ironic for like a hero's journey. But yeah, we also have some great characters. Alfred Woodard as Mariah. Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth was great performance. Yeah, that's what I love about these shows. Like they didn't have like throwaway villains like the MCU. Great villains. But give me your thoughts on Luke Cage.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing too. It's one of those shows where it actually this show raises the question if like Netflix shows are considered MCU canon because Alfred Woodard, she played a character in Captain America
Oh, that's
Civil
right, Civil
War.
War. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also Mahershala Ali, one of my favorite actors. I love his laugh in here. He's playing Blade, right? So back then it raised some questions, and even now it raised questions too because like he's Cottonmouth, but then obviously you have, I think her name's Gemma Chan from the Eternals. She played two characters, one in Captain Marvel and obviously in the Eternals. So Disney's it's not new to like recast characters anyways, but yeah, I really enjoyed the show. I thought like this show, there's only some shows, and you have to be like really sensitive with a topic like about racial injustice and police brutality. And I felt like this show like did it so well. It was so smooth. I remember seeing one interview or something in a trailer where it mentioned like a black man that's bulletproof, right? And it was just something that was so iconic as well. And then he's wearing a hoodie. We're used to seeing Luke Cage with a yellow shirt, but now he's wearing a hoodie, right, to represent like Trayvon Martin. So it had a lot of like themes and like a lot of like real world references that I think many can appreciate, and even to this day, oh, that's my alarm. Sorry, many to this day can still appreciate it.
And this came out before Black Panther, I think, too, which was so funny because everybody
Yes,
loves to talk about how like Black Panther was like the first like iconic superhero on screen, but I think Luke Cage, in a
yep,
way, talked more about really racial relations.
yeah,
Well, I guess you could say Black Panther did too, but the way that they showed it was so relatable,
oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah, and Captain America and the Winter Soldier as well kind of went into this. So like those, I feel like Black Panther, Luke Cage, and Captain America: The Winter Soldier is like really influential to like talking about this topic, especially, and we'll probably see more of that later down the line with like Ironheart or Black Panther: Wakanda Forever or whatever is coming up next. So for what it was, Luke Cage, I did enjoy Luke Cage a lot. I enjoyed season 2 a lot, even if I didn't like Bushmaster as much as of a villain. But obviously, I'm always a big fan of Mustafa Shakir. And another Netflix show he was in is Cowboy Bebop. You guys can check that out. We have a good friend of ours, Jerome, with us reviewing that. So it was a fun review.
Netflix only has 12 actors. That's why they couldn't they
Yeah,
reused.
hey, that's
But he's still a good actor though.
that's a
Like, I'm
solid
not gonna knock
paycheck.
him.
Yeah. Which is funny because speaking of that, actually, it feels like so familial, like casting these actors, but also it's like the great thing about these Netflix shows in general and like Luke Cage is just that it feels kind of like a soap opera. Like at the time when I was watching it, when I was younger, I was like, sometimes I got bored. But now that I'm older, I can appreciate certain details they go into, like people ordering food or Daredevil getting a costume piece or whatever, just like meeting different characters that aren't in the comics, like Pops
Mhm.
and whatnot. And again,
Right.
landmarks, right? Luke Cage's bar from Jessica Jones, and now you had the barbershop. That unfortunately something happened that I was so mad when that
Keep
happened.
moving forward.
Right, I know. I mean, and also the themes too. I feel like was really apparent and strong here because Luke Cage was a police officer we seen in a flashback, and he was Cage, Luke Cage, right? And you just mentioned that too. So there's so many like strong themes and messages here. And you were mentioning earlier as well that really they're the ones who kind of started the themes and stuff. And you can see that a lot now in Disney Plus shows, right? As most notably Captain America, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So like this was a good segue. So yeah, but give us your thoughts on season 1, especially some characters like Misty Knight. I want to know your thoughts on like
Oh my
these type of
God,
characters.
Misty Knight. I know. There's so many great moments from season 1. I think like really like it was such a stylized show, and I love that so much. Like Adrian Young did such a phenomenal job with the soundtrack. It just like each show had like its own motif, and like you could like really it was so nostalgic. I think even Method Man made like an appearance in one episode.
Oh.
He wrote one of the songs like about Luke Cage like met him in a like a diner or something, and then he wrote a song about him afterwards. So it was so cool that they did that. Like each and like you said, like each show wasn't afraid to like talk about like you know social or political issues, and I think Luke Cage really like started like talking more about gun violence and like racial tensions between like police and stuff, and I really appreciated that. Like it wasn't afraid to talk about issues like that, and it was such like a great like black exploitation like tribute in that regard. But Mike Coulter played a phenomenal job as Carl Lucas, and I love that little scene where like they even had the throwback like costume
Oh yeah.
from like the comics. So it was such like they always find little
Right.
ways, like they did this with Hellcat, but they found like little ways to like incorporate the old costumes, because the costumes look so cheesy in comics, but the way that they do it looks it's so fun. But like his costume like with the yellow hood inside and then just like the bullet holes, I think that's such an iconic look for Luke Cage. Like in some I think comics he has like a chain like belt or
Yeah.
something. I think like Power Man, like when he's a part of the Avengers, he has like sunglasses or something. But he feels very very street level in the show, and I really like that. And then he kind of like builds like this reputation among his community in Harlem, and I really like that because a little black kid can look towards like this hero to look up to in these times of crisis, which I really thought was really cool, because like it's such a like great representation, or like somebody can see themselves on screen as like something more. But yeah, I really love the show. I think season 2 was okay. I mean, the whole Shades and Mariah thing, it was like wasn't my favorite. Like they weren't like the greatest villains. I think like Cottonmouth and Diamondback I didn't really like care for too much. The whole like I honestly I think they should have just kept Cottonmouth in season 1.
Right.
But I mean, even his death was like, it was so sad. Like when you realize like what he went through, like with Mariah and stuff. But yeah, and then like I did like how like season 2 ended in a way, because it was kind of like The Godfather. Like
Right.
like Luke he inherits the bar. Like it's so funny because like everybody was fighting over this bar, right? Because it represents Harlem, and it represents change and struggle. And then it starts off with with Cottonmouth or his mother, who's like this big crime boss, and then it ends with Luke Cage, who's trying to change. But does that change him in a way too? I think they left that on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So that in a way it was like that like corrupting him too. We'll never know, or maybe we will. Who
Hopefully.
knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully. But also I should also mention season 2 also gave us a great duo, Heroes for Hire, Iron Fist.
Yes.
So it was a cool moment, which we'll talk about more. But
Yeah.
I think that was really cool that they did that. I hope eventually, if and I know they're trying to reboot Daredevil, is from what I heard. But if they ever decide to go back to these characters, I hope Heroes for Hire is considered for like a show, because I think that'd be like a really like dope show, just like Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Like they have such good chemistry. Like Mike Coulter and what's his name, Finn Jones. I think yeah, they have like really good dynamic.
It's a funny mix. Yeah. So,
but segueing into that,
well, I was just gonna ask you one thing. Will it be
go
weird? Will it be weird if I ask you for if you want to get a cup of coffee? Let us know down below. Maybe Dylan's
It's a
too
little
slow
weird.
to get that. Yeah,
It's a little weird.
Skip scene.
Right.
All right. Oh no.
But segueing into that, now we get into what is the problem child of the Defenders.
Problem child, you are the problem child. Look at you.
I know.
You read up on the assignment.
Hey, listen. I had to play my part.
Right, your least
I
favorite
couldn't play
show.
Matt because my hair is not black anymore.
Yeah, I should have dressed up like Jessica Jones then, like our two least favorite shows.
Wear
I
a leather
guess.
jacket. It's so funny because I did dress up as Daredevil in the black suit for Halloween. I'll put up like
Yeah.
a PNG of that right now if you guys want to see.
There you
Good
go.
times. But yeah, so we have to talk about it because it is part of the Defenders family. But Iron Fist doesn't hold up as it did before. It still doesn't when it first came out. Yeah, a lot of issues I have with the show, but looking back, I could, if I rewatch it, I'll probably have more fun with it. Like I've talked to you about. Finn Jones, I thought was okay. I mean, he probably had to do with what he had, but I still think they could have done a lot better with like the writing of the show and maybe just like more with the choreography. But tell me your thoughts. Like, what did you think of Iron Fist?
Everyone, spam the chat or the comment section and spit on Dylan's face. Like, put the water drops, all right? I'm not going to lie. You guys don't like Iron Fist as well. You guys don't like Iron Fist as well from what I could tell. Most people don't, at least. I actually do because I rewatched it. And I'm not going to lie. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I do think that a lot of battles should have been fought by Iron Fist. Rather, it was like a whole collaboration of other characters fighting like certain things for him. I did like Finn Jones as Iron Fist. I think he played the part well from what I could tell, at least, because I'm not an avid Iron Fist comic reader. But from what I could tell, I did enjoy it. I like that he's not so focused on money, and his perception of life changed when he crashed, in the Himalayas, basically. And I also like the theme where it's like he's just trying to fit into a world that he can't really fit into, right? And so this is who he is, Iron Fist. It's kind of like trying to get out of that stereotype of what Iron Fist should be, and he's trying to make his own man, and he's trying to become, I guess, and it's kind of like the issue of Daredevil as well. It's like, are you really just Iron Fist, or can you just be Danny Rand? And obviously Colleen Wing, played by Jessica Henwick.
Jessica Henwick, yeah.
Yeah, she's bae. She, obviously that she's a standout in the show, one of like a really memorable character. And obviously there was like some stuff in the news where she was supposed to play a character in Shang-Chi. Dylan, tell us a little bit about that.
So I love Jessica because she's so devoted to her character. Like I think she was meant to play a role in Shang-Chi, but she turned it down for The Matrix because I think apparently she was gonna play like a different character in Shang-Chi from Colleen Wing. But I think she wanted the idea that we could see Colleen back on screen. So I think that was like an awesome thing. Like in the long run, will it pay off? I don't know, but I think that was really cool of her.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, The Matrix wasn't that good, in my opinion. But I love her character in that movie. But yeah, in Iron Fist, I think she's also one of the greatest strengths of the show too. I think I enjoyed watching her more than Danny Rand.
Oh goodness me. Well,
and like I think like her chemistry too with like Misty Knight too was really cool.
Well, that's the thing too. Sometimes you like it's cool to wonder, because season 2 I think was better than season 1. I think a lot of people would say the same. And it's kind of like makes you wonder, like, were they planning something all along where like Iron Fist, Danny Rand wasn't like the perfect Iron Fist you would imagine in the comics? Perhaps maybe Colleen Wing was. That's why she in a way became a version of Iron Fist, and in a way Danny became just Danny searching for the truth of like the whole beginning of things and stuff like that. And perhaps we could see that explored later on. Misty Knight here was great as well. There was supposed to be a long time ago, before they kind of canceled all the shows, there was supposed to be like a spin-off with Misty Knight and Colleen Wing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I'm sad that they never kicked off with that.
That would have been cool. Like, that's another thing Disney Plus can explore. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the summary of this. Like, that would be cool to explore. But like, I think the best character here was Bakudo. Don't you want to bow to your essay?
Bakudo.
No, Madame Gao.
Like if
She
we had to rank all the villains, Bakudo obviously takes
right.
top spot over Kingpin and Kilgrave.
Well, and the cool thing is they like Daredevil like gets into like the hand, but like I would say Luke Cage. Iron Fist really like shows like what the hand is about, and we get more clear confirmation of who Madame Gao is as well, and how powerful she is, like using the Force, you know.
She's apparently like a Sith Lord or something.
Right.
But I didn't like that only because it felt like they were using Daredevil leftovers in a way. Like
Really?
the food stamps of.
Oh no!
of
Well, he was
Daredevil.
in the comics. I think he does fight the hand anyway. Like he's meant to
I
destroy
think
the
he
hand.
does, but I feel like they could have. I don't know.
Who get
It felt too
Kree?
much like they were.
Who you want? What the fuck? The guys like from the start since 1970. I'm supposed to kill the head, and also
Well, they
Daredevil
had,
comes back
like,
around.
They had, I think, Steel Serpent too. They could have used. I'm sure there. I think I know only like a few like Iron Fist villains, but they could have went so much like deeper. I feel like just like reusing the hand kind of felt like dry, and especially if they're using Madame Gao too. Like, obviously she was like a Daredevil villain. I kind of wanted, Danny to have like more options for like struggles other than just reusing what we saw in Daredevil.
I could see that. Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then even like Davos, like we saw in season 2, like I think you mentioned like you weren't like a huge fan of that storyline with like him and Joy. Like
That-
apparently they were a one true pairing or something.
yeah, it wasn't like it was a weird thing going on. I was getting like mad vibes. I was like, damn, something's about to happen. You know what I mean? And it
Akron
never
was shipping
happened.
them hard.
Right, like put them in an episode of Euphoria or something like that. Ooh, I mean, Davos was.
They went to get a cup of coffee.
Right. I mean, the conflict was real. I mean, Davos was like very jealous of Danny, and I kind of like I liked that little struggle that happened there. And he's kind of like a sad character too because of what happened to his mother, his father, and he's disappointing them. And in a way, it's kind of funny. It kind of like relates to like immigrants like in this country, and like they're trying to please. Well, I'm trying to please my
Fit
parents.
in.
Everyone is,
Yeah.
But like I wish we seen more of Kung Lun, and I wish Danny like mastered his powers more in the show to like pull off these cool special effects feats that would have been really interesting to see. I felt like that's the one downside to Marvel Netflix is like it's very like muted in terms of like superpowers when it should be a little bit more bombastic, but how will you choreograph that on a certain type of budget as well? But I don't think like that was like a major flaw. I really did enjoy Iron Fist for what it was. I didn't think it was as bad as people said it was. I feel like the choreography wasn't as bad as well, especially the Defenders when Iron Fist was fighting.
I think the problem people had with it was there was so much high expectation, especially because we saw Daredevil, we saw Jessica Jones, and we had Luke Cage, right? So those were like 3 big hits, right? So coming off of those, there was like already high expectations
Yeah.
for Iron Fist, and especially because Iron Fist is supposed to be the most powerful of the 3. He was kind of supposed to be like the Thor, I guess, of the Defenders. Like he was
Right.
supposed to be like a powerhouse, and then we just got like this whiny white kid. And then like he always brags about like, oh, I'm the immortal Iron Fist, but then like he never like every time like he's in a fight he always gets his ass beat. So I'm like, dude, what this is not the Iron Fist that people wanted, I guess. So and then like you said, like the choreograph, like the way he was fighting, I thought could have been done better. Especially like after the stunts that Daredevil pulled off, I think I expected more from Iron Fist because his thing is kung fu, and they could have pulled more from like old like kung fu movies, like maybe like The Raid or like Bruce Lee or something like so. But I did like that we got like the suit at the end. Was it? I think it was at the end of season 2 or was it at the beginning of season or of Luke Cage?
The suit.
But we got the track suit.
Oh yeah, and I think that was
With
the
the stripes.
Defenders. That was actually the Defenders.
Might have been the Defenders.
Yeah,
Oh
that-
yeah, it was the
the
Defenders.
end scene. Yeah.
Because that suit is
Yeah.
based off of Bruce Lee's jumpsuit from Game of Death, which is a
Right.
very iconic movie. But I think like I did things I did like from the series. I did like at the end, like him and Ward, his brother,
I love
kind of like
Ward.
got closer.
Yeah.
Because they were so like, especially Ward was such an awkward character
Right.
in like season 1, and then like he kind of like grew on me like on season 2 a bit.
Yeah.
We got Jerry back, of course, in the show, and she was like kind of like helping like Danny like get his company back. So it was
Right.
like cool like seeing some of the other characters back. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think we should have seen like more of Kun Lun. I think we should have seen more of his training. We saw bits of it with Davos, like when that that trial scene where like they were trying to decide who was going to be the next Iron Fist.
Right.
I think we should have gone more into that. Kind of wanted to see like him, like his life in Kun Lun, in like parallel with his life, in New York. Kind of like Daredevil in a way, like his training, and it was such kind of like a disappointment for me. But I hope that the character gets a reboot or a redemption, because now we have Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
So I was telling Akram this. I kind of wish they had done this, but in the Shang-Chi scene where they're in the cage fight, I kind of wanted to see Iron Fist there.
Oh,
Like
God.
that would have been the perfect tie-in
That's great.
for his MCU debut. Like I hope that club is still there for like a Shang-Chi sequel.
Yeah. Seriously.
And then like we could see him, because I think like Shang-Chi and Iron Fist, they have like they meet each other like on different crossover comic books.
Yeah.
So it would make sense for them to like meet up and like have adventures together.
God, imagine Ward there, like sitting in a sideline. He's like, "Come on, Danny," whatever, and he's fighting like Wong or something, and they're using their powers.
He's making like bets with like all the other like crime lords.
It matches so well. Like that's such a great. They should have done that, man. Maybe he'll meet the Mandarin, the new Mandarin. The daughter probably later on.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
maybe
such a lost opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's all I have to say for that. Unless you have any more points for Iron Fist.
No, I mean, yeah, I think I like Iron Fist. You guys don't. I at a 1 to 10, I give it like an 8. I'm not like dire, but at least I'm more generous than like other people would be with Iron Fist. But
I
Dylan
think
has
I
good
would give
points.
it 7.5.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you're wearing
And
Iron Fist skin
I
right
know.
now.
I feel bad because I am an Iron Fist like stan. Like I even got the hair. But
I know everyone's thinking you're still standing over Iron Fist, and I'm here wearing a little spoil
because I
shirt.
like the comic version. The TV show was kind of let them be. No, I still like Iron Fist. Like
Yeah.
it's when I watch it, it's like you have to keep watching it just to get the bad juju out.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, looking back, it was okay.
Yeah.
But obviously, the next one. Actually, there's two we
Yeah.
should talk about. So,
Right.
you want to talk about the Punisher first?
Yeah, let's just talk about the Punisher and sum it up with the Defenders. Yeah, the Punisher. I
yeah.
like the Punisher a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Punisher was interesting. I mean, obviously, we talked about like how John Bernthal killed it as Frank Castle,
Right.
literally. His first appearance, like when he shoots up the Irish hideout, that was such a like, and they didn't even show his face, but we just knew it was the Punisher. And even the way I love how they teased him in the original trailer for Daredevil season 2. I think that was such a cool like intro, because like we weren't sure if we were gonna see him, and then like the like the creepy little song in the background, and we just saw like Castle like on the mailbox, and it was like
God.
one or penny. What was it, like penny?
One batch,
dime
two
or something?
batch, a penny,
One
and a
batch,
dime.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and I think like that inspired a lot of trends now that I see. Like if a character is really cool in one show, that they'll give them a spin-off show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at you, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell me your thoughts on the Punisher, because I think like I think I like season 1 more than season 2. But how do you feel?
Yeah, I agree. I like season 1 a lot more than season 2. Like season 2, I felt like was a lot of shows from Netflix was like way too long. I'd say like it could have ended a couple episodes ago. Season 2 felt like that. Like it could have ended way long ago. I like Curtis. Like I liked other characters like Curtis Hall. I think it's Curtis Hall, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just trying to look at my notes here, but yeah. Oh, Curtis. No, it's Curtis Hoyle. Sorry, Curtis Hall. I mean, I liked. I like. What's his name? Wow, I'm like flatlining with like remembering these
Micro?
characters' name. Micro. Yes, I
Yeah.
loved Micro here. Like I like just the way how like he was portrayed, and I also like the fact that he had like a family he's trying to get back to, and he had a lot similar with Frank. He was wronged by I guess the same people. I just like that whole storyline. I even like the guy with the what's he was weird though at the end. Remember he was beating up Frank. He had like the guy with the blind eye or whatever. He says, "I'm gonna kill him." You remember he wore the gloves?
Rollins.
I think it's yeah. He was too much. He was too. That's Adobe. That's like my Adobe account with me. Is like, I'm gonna kill him. Like the whole thing was really, really like. Like the Punisher, I'm like surprised with the Punisher being on Disney Plus because that was like the most brutal show to put
They
on
held
there.
nothing back with Punisher. They knew
Yeah.
exactly. They were like, we're gonna go into this character. We're gonna treat him how he's supposed to be treated.
Right.
You know, and it was such a different take because I think the only other version or versions should say we had Ray Stevenson and
Right.
Thomas Jane, and I think forgot the other guy's name.
Dolph Lundgren. Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren, thank you. But John Bernthal, I thought brought such a ferocity to the character, and he was so raw, and he just held nothing. Like he was fully like you felt this Frank Castle was fully committed to his ideology. Like we saw that in the court scene in Daredevil season 2. Like he was not ashamed of what he was doing. Like he literally felt like every like criminal and scumbag like that should just be like wiped from the face of the earth. And I love that so much because like Frank is such a controversial character in the comics. I think like he's had at and like Civil War was like a good example because like during Civil War, I think like Captain America was like trying to like recruit like some of the bad guys or like some of the villains to their cause, and then like Frank like kills all of them. He's like, we don't compensate.
Yeah.
And that's like I feel like that was really like what we saw with like John. He held nothing back. And even like he didn't even need weapons to be brutal.
Mm.
Like season 2, there was like a he went to like this Russian gym and he just used whatever he had and just like killed all these guys. I thought that was such like great like adaptation to the character.
Oh yeah, and his character was so specific in ways too. Like for example, when he killed the the Irish, he shot them with 300 blackout. Right, that's a type of caliber for assault rifles. 300 blackout. It creates bigger exit wounds as well. Heavy bullet, close to 7.62.
Those are the bullets that are going to Akram's house right
Right.
now from the cold open.
Shout out to Optics Planet. Yeah, no, but I feel like if the Punisher like bought bullets online, he wouldn't be the Punisher because it's so expensive right now. But it's just so expensive, dude. He can't be the Punisher anymore. He gives up. But like 300 blackout, right? Close to 7.62, 39, or even 380 that he complimented Karen. Like very specific type of caliber. So he's not just ferocious. He's very intelligent. He knows how to kill people. And so it's controversial because you think of like, wow, that's kind of disgusting in a way, but he doesn't see it like that, right? It's his form of justice. And there's a fine line like to tread when you're making a show like this. As if kind of like the Joker. Like the Joker's like a dangerous film as well. And so I felt like this show was like in a way dangerous, you know, just the themes that was playing. And kudos to John, because he plays a character that is so enraged, but also very sincere, especially with Karen. I felt like Karen really shined in The Punisher as well, or The Punisher season 2. Like they had such a thing going on, that like, you know, another what if story, maybe they would have got together and like lived happily ever after, you know. So kudos to him. Kudos to.
I made a joke. I was like Daredevil's girls keep getting stealed by like all the other guys.
I know,
like,
you thought that they kissed, yeah.
Like Night Nurse got stolen by Luke Cage, and now like Karen's getting stealed by.
They're all having a go. It's like after you, let me have a go. Like, oh, this is Grubhub, but yeah, no, it was
nothing held back.
And it was like even like season 1, I really liked that guy that he kept on repeating, Lorem Ipsum Pluribus, whatever. I don't know how you say it. I really felt like even that
Lewis.
guy. Yeah, he acted really well. It talked a lot about like getting in the wrong ideology and post-traumatic stress as well. And also Curtis, like I like how he was like more grown, you know. He kind of wants to just help people in his own way. Even Madani, right? Her name's Madani, right? She was interesting. Madani, I liked Madani. There was kind of like weird sex scenes going on with Russo and Madani. I was like, what? but Russo, I felt like he was
Ben Barnes.
Yeah, he's
Russo
so charismatic. Yeah,
was so slick. He was so like I liked him more in season 1, though I didn't like him too much in season 2.
Yeah,
just because like the way he looked. But
right.
That's just like a cosmetic thing. But the way he was in season 1, you felt like he was like the supportive best friend, but really he did not care. He was out, you know. I mean, he kind of cared for Frank in a way because he was like we're brothers, you know, we're part of the same unit. Because you know that whole Marine ideology, like Semper Fi, like they went through so much shit together. But at the same time, Billy Russo has his own agenda, and Punisher is kind of in the way of that. So I love, like, Billy Russo was like, he was so cold, he was so calculated, like Frank, and he had his own private army,
Oh yeah,
company. So
yeah,
he was as much as a trained killer as Frank, which I thought was really cool. And like that whole showdown that they had at the merry-go-round, I thought that was
right.
really cool.
Yeah, that was great. I honestly like thought that Russo would end up being worse, like cut up, just like in the comics. I was shocked when he just had a couple of scars, but other than that, I mean, I think it's more. That's the thing with Netflix. They try to like humanize these characters more, and I feel like he was more of a Jigsaw inside rather than outside. And I felt like, okay, so if you're gonna go down that route, but like there was a lot more at play. You had also, what was his name? I think it was the Amish guy. I liked him a lot too.
Oh, John Pilgrim.
Yeah, I liked him a lot too. He was really interesting. He kind of reminded me of like sometimes he had like that Javier Bardem type of like thing going on from No Country Old Men.
Hmm.
Whereas like he's very like,
He's
soft
like an assassin.
spoken.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Hmm.
like, and he has a thing with his family as well. And Georgia Williams' character, it was interesting to see Frank, become like get into that father role again, after this transformation of becoming into the Punisher. Or perhaps too, which is cool, perhaps the Punisher has always been inside of Frank, right? It's about revealing your true self. So in a way, like his family was kind of like a burden, and it's been lifted from him. And unfortunately, it's a Punisher's a really tragic character. So I felt like it was displayed well in the show, although like certain things were unnecessary in season 2, especially. And I wish Frank, though, he had like a more updated costume, or he wore like the bulletproof vest more often. I just wanted
Yeah,
to see
that
that
thing
white
was
skull
torn
more.
the fuck up in the
I,
season 2. I was like,
yeah, I
damn. I
know.
was like Batman's armor didn't take that much hit compared to like
Yeah.
what his vest took. I was like, damn.
It was interesting redesign though. Like it was interesting redesign.
Hmm.
The last time we got a leather jacket Frank was obviously in Thomas Jane Punisher, which is iconic with the shirt, right? So here
Hmm.
we got something different. But I like the show. It's one of my favorites, honestly. I think more so season 1. Season 2 was kind of sad that he had to get back into the mix when he was just trying to escape everything. I was like, damn, this motherfucker had like a clean slate. He could
I
leave,
know. He could
So
do
it's
whatever
kind
he
of
wanted. He
like
could move to Jamaica or some shit.
seriously. But the ending was akin to Jessica Jones, where it's like I feel like you could tie off a story here, although I don't want it to
Mm.
be. But like he's doing what he does best and kills people. So
Well,
what?
what felt for me was it was kind of like it was like the opposite of Daredevil, because Daredevil had two different storylines, but I think they handled it really well.
Hmm.
In Punisher season 2, he has to deal with the young girl. I think her name is Rachel, and like how she's being like hunted or whatever. And then he has to deal with Billy Russo too, which was a separate thing. So I think it wasn't balanced well. I feel like he was trying to do like two different things at the same time. I kind of wish it had been more about Jigsaw, like coming back and then establishing, because they already set him up at the end of season 1 as Jigsaw. So I want to see him come back in full force as like this huge threat, nothing held back. That he's just out for revenge for Frank, kind of like the Ray Stevenson movie, but not too graphic like that. But yeah, it felt kind of weird for me. But things I did like, I did like at the end, like you said, he is a killer, so he has to like embrace his identity, and he has the leather jacket and everything. I kind of wanted him to. Does he have the car or
It,
the
I think he just
was
had
it the
like a
truck,
van or something. I don't know.
the van or something like that?
Yeah, I think he just had like another van or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see Micro back too in season
Oh,
2,
I
because I
miss
feel like,
Micro. Yeah, that's
yeah,
his guy. He could have ordered him like new things and stuff. I don't
right, yeah,
know.
like that guy from Black Widow, like he could have like got him like anything or something.
That's man. Imagine adding Micro like to the MCU by like just I don't know if another character or whatever. I don't know. I don't know
Hmm.
if he would get into that. I don't know if that serves the
He's like a
character well.
supplier or something for
Yeah,
like maybe Bucky or Falcon or something.
yeah. I mean, we'll see. Sky's the limit, I guess
Mhm.
now. But yeah,
Yeah, and I did also like at the end, because I think I don't know if Jessica Jones or Punisher was the last official
Jessica.
show.
Jessica season
It
3.
might have been Jessica.
Yeah, it is.
But Punisher at the time, I think that's when Stan Lee passed away, so they did a nice tribute to him.
Really?
And
Oh wow.
yeah, if you watch the end credits of season 2, they said like I think it was like in memory of Stan Lee.
Oh.
After he does like the whole like oh.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was a cool little memoriam for Stan Lee. So I feel bad because like Stan Lee, now he can't like see all these properties like come back to Disney Plus, and what's the future. But cool show overall. I enjoyed it. But the last show obviously we have to talk about is
Yeah.
The Defenders itself. That's the name of this episode.
Right.
So The Defenders, Sans Punisher, was the
Ooh, Sans.
culmination
Yeah.
of all the other Defenders, coming together to fight the Hand, led by Sigourney Weaver, which I thought was a weird choice, but uh, we'll get more into that. But yeah, it was kind of like a cool little like Avengers Infinity War or Endgame moment where like all these, and I love the teaser. Like me and Akron were watching the
Mm-hmm.
teaser trailer when they used the Nirvana song. Like
Right.
it was such a cool like little moment. But yeah, so they all come together obviously to fight this common threat, which I think the Hand had more like a threat towards like Daredevil and Iron Fist as opposed to like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. So I kind of wish like in a way I wish like all their villains had like started working together
Mm.
in a way, and maybe they became the Hand or something. But tell me your thoughts on Defenders. Like, what did you like from the show or
Like,
didn't like?
well, there's some notable stuff. Like they had their own type of shawarma scene in that Chinese
Oh
restaurant.
yeah.
That was cool. Like I like the conversation because they're so different in personality wise that like the conversations were funny. I was so like I
They're
was
fun to
laughing.
watch on screen.
Yeah, no, I was
Yeah.
laughing out loud with Iron Fist, just him eating through the whole time, and like Daredevil was so apprehensive, and he just wanted to like separate and whatnot. And I was kind of mad at Jessica because she like dipped like in the first moment. But like that was really the establishing thing with Luke, especially, right? Didn't they first met in the Defenders, or was it actually Iron Fist? I forgot.
Yeah, it was Defenders. So Defenders
Yeah,
took place before Luke Cage season 2, and
yeah,
I believe it was Jessica Jones season 3. But yeah,
yeah.
so Luke and Danny did meet in Defenders, and also Jessica met Matt in Defenders.
Yes, yeah, that like a lot of things, like just the interactions with like Jessica's commentary of like of him wearing like a scarf over his head to
Oh
like
yeah.
mask his identity, like stuff like that was really funny. I just
She's
like
like,
the
"Can I have my
whole
scarf back?" Or
right. I like the whole thing. I just like that they're discovering each other's powers slowly through each episode. I think one of the weakest points, honestly, was Sigourney's character because she was just killed off blatantly. I was like, what? I was so
I didn't even
shocked.
feel like she was a threat, to be honest. Like
She didn't feel
they
like a
kept
threat.
they kept hyping her up to be this huge villain that's gonna
Right,
take all the Defenders to beat.
right.
But then when you saw her on screen, like she couldn't even like keep control of the Hand. I was like, what makes her stand out? Like honestly,
Yeah.
honestly, they could have just replaced her with Kingpin, and it would have been so much but better.
Yeah, seriously, and like I felt like this was just for Elektra, like
Oh my
and
god,
also
Electra, we forgot to talk about her.
yeah, and Stick was here as well. I think Stick died in the show,
Yeah, he did
unfortunately.
die.
I was so sad
Mm.
when Stick. I think he even cut off his own hand here in the show as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
he cut off his own just to escape.
Right. It's like there
Uh,
a lot happened in the show. I felt like it was a big event.
mm,
A lot happened. And it influenced the other shows because there was less mention of the hand. Obviously with Danny
mm.
and obviously with Daredevil. So there's a lot less mention. But in a way, it's weird because like okay, you just killed off the hand. At the time, it wasn't really like canonized for the MCU, so probably we'll never see the hand again. And like now, this MCU, like that would have been interesting to see like other factions of hand possibly appear as like a little Easter egg. I don't know, but it felt useless. Like there was so much buildup, and it was such a letdown. It was something so tiny. This conflict that happened, and the way how they resolved it too was like really
Well,
low
they kept
scale.
building up the Hand as like I guess like the Hydra of the
Right.
Defenders, kind of.
Worse. It's
Um,
supposed to be worse or something. It
yeah.
wasn't. Yeah.
So like I said, like with Iron Fist, like I kind of didn't like that they just reused like an old Daredevil villain.
Hmm.
But even if they used like Kingpin or something, they would have been so much better. Because like Kingpin, I feel like would have been the best fit for the Defenders because he affects all of New York, right?
Right.
And in the comics, like he's such a big threat in like a lot of like storylines. Like right now, I think he's in a comic. I think it's not Dark Reign. It's like he's in a comic store right now where I think he's like the mayor of New
Oh.
York, and he's like outlawing a bunch of like heroes and stuff. So that would have been perfect. Like Vincent D'Onofrio would have been the perfect fit. But I did like that they implemented him in Hawkeye. But yeah, the hand just and I always call like the heads of the hand the fingers. I think that's what they're
Right.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool.
But like
Yeah.
okay, so like so each one like Madame Gao obviously like felt like the best out of the five.
Mhm.
We had that random Yakuza boss that could have just been like Nobu number 2 or something.
I was gonna say Boku by accident. I forgot the name. Yeah.
We had that African guy, and then we had like Bakudo.
But did you want to bounce your essay?
They should have made Bakudo the head of the
I'll be so mad. He just like trains people through iPads and stuff.
Bakudo should have been like the Thanos of the
Bakudo
Defenders.
is still around. I promise you, he's still around.
But honestly, I think like I did like Elektra in this series, like as the Black Sky, because they did tease her at the end of Daredevil season 2. Like she had like a bigger role to play with the hand. So I think like her arc was interesting. What do you think about like Elektra?
She's another tragic character, because she was kind of like insidious within, but like that was kind of like her upbringing, especially like with what happened, that she was adopted, but she was kind of trained when she was young, played by actress Lily Chi. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like kind of on and off of her, like if I like her or not. It's a weird mix. It's a weird mix because I hated her in the Defenders, but I really loved her in the Daredevil. And at the end of Defenders, I was like really hoping, like, oh man, kind of, please like turn good again. I don't want to see her die
Mhm.
because I want to see her reappear eventually, like wearing that famous bandana and like everything's red.
Mhm.
So there could be a rebirth. They were submersed with water and debris. There could be a rebirth for her, and there could be a potential like a phoenix rising through the ashes type of thing. And it could be really like empowering for women as well, like her own type of series. Other than that, though, I mean, I was shocked when like she killed Sigourney. I was like really shocked, but I didn't really believe it. I don't know. I didn't really believe it was like earned. Um, I'm like kind of like it's hard to explain because I'm kind of like indifferent about her. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I didn't really like this Defenders like event that much. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. She was definitely a totally different person in Defenders. I think that's just because of like the brainwashing that they
Yeah.
did to her. But she definitely like I love like her in Daredevil, like the whole like, oh come on, Matthew, you can
Hello,
trust me,
Matthew.
like. And I think people always remember like the boxing ring scene,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
like oh yeah, I still don't know how that got onto Disney Plus, but but yeah, I always loved like her like relationship with Matthew, and I think that's why I liked her in Defenders too, because she was kind of like throwing Matt off a bit, because like Matt was trying to like focus on keeping this team together, but at the same time he's still grieving over Elektra's death,
Well, bye bye,
supposedly from
Karen.
season 2.
I know.
Right?
He was all over
Bye.
Elektra. I was like, damn, all right,
I know,
Frank,
right?
Frank, go
Dropped
meet
that
up.
bitch hard. I was like, damn.
Frank, go have a go. It's like Dylan said.
Well, because Elektra's the only one left, like
Yeah.
that won't leave him.
Next
so-
is Foggy.
right? Yeah, true. But yeah, I think it was kind of tragic how they sent her off, but I think that was kind of like emotional, like when the whole building
Well,
dropped
yeah.
on
Yeah.
her and Matt. Yeah, that was such like a heartwarming scene, like them together, because like they finally like he was like, I won't leave you like I did last time, right?
Right.
And also that whole fight scene, like can we talk about the Defenders fight scenes real quick?
They
'Cause
were
I
good,
love
though, yeah.
like like the first scene where they're all together,
Right.
and like Luke Cage and Danny are fighting the guys, and they're like back to back, and
Yeah.
then like Daredevil shows up, and the iconic elevator scene,
Right.
and they're all fighting. It was so badass, like
That-
the way they.
They were great, yeah. Those
Yeah.
parts were great. Interactions, dialogue, stuff like that. That was like the cherry on top. But other than that, like I felt like the whole plot, I guess, wasn't for me. Just like
Yeah.
interactions between Elektra, like you said, or like just the characters in general. I felt like that was the selling point as well. Was that the hand was just kind of? It felt like the hand was like an afterthought, even if it was like built up. But it was kind of the afterthought when it was actually deployed. Like this is it. I didn't like Daredevil season 2 in a way. Kind of felt like a massive event would happen, like that whole thing with Nobu and stuff. Like if you kind of like try to mix that, I don't know, but yeah, obviously you
Well, they're
couldn't. But
they're trying so hard to like implement like supernatural like elements
yeah,
into it, and it didn't pay off in my opinion. I think they should
no,
have went like a different route. I think they should have kept it more grounded in reality, like I said, with like maybe
that's
Kingpin
a
or
great
like some of the
idea.
other villains that we've seen. Um, I don't know. It's nostalgic to think about.
Right.
But at the same time, it was like, yeah, it was okay. It was fun just to see them like you said, like all interacting too. I love that scene where like Jessica gets up and like Stick is like, sit down.
No, yeah.
And you're like, oh man.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean that pretty much wraps up our thoughts on it. But
Yeah, I want.
what do you think we'll see like as far as like the future of this
Yes.
series?
Now the discussion of the future. So as many of you know, and plus Spider-Man: No Way Home is out digital right now. Yes, Matt Murdock showed up as the lawyer, and that was that, and also Kingpin we talked about earlier was in Hawkeye, especially the season finale. Or I'd say series finale because I don't think it's coming back. Yeah, I think the future is going to be great with Daredevil specifically because we have Kingpin, what happened to him, what Echo did, that we're not really sure what happens. But I believe he will show up because Echoes isn't like this character where like you're going to have like a plethora of source material. I believe like the main villain would be Kingpin, and I believe like you'll probably see a lot more conflict and a lot more flashbacks about her past and stuff, like he did something really bad back then. um I heard leaks, like we talked about earlier. She-Hulk, Matt will show up as Daredevil in a yellow and red costume. He showed up already in Spider-Man: No Way Home. And they're perhaps making a show on Disney Plus, hopefully a long running show. That would be great. I think the future is great for the Defenders because it's not a lot of characters. It's not like something super complicated where like there was like 20 shows on Netflix. It was only these characters, right? So you could have fun with them and try to put them in this scenario, these characters, or try to combine Shang-Chi with like Iron Fist or something. You could do all of that and still make it small scale. My question is, how will they make it? Because every Disney Plus show uh, contributes to the grander scale of the MCU we talked about before. Everything's adding a different element. And so we already got Daredevil stuff in Hawkeye. So what will these shows add to the grander scale? What corners of the earth will we see with Iron Fist? Possibly we won't see anything with Jessica Jones. I don't really see that happening.
I
Or
can't see anything.
or the
Yeah.
Punisher, maybe not. I don't know. But obviously, you guys feel free, please, to let us know your comments down below. But Dylan, yeah, tell us what you think we'll see in the future.
Yeah, I think everything you pointed out is definitely has potential for the future of the Defenders. I think Disney Plus is in a good spot right now with all these Marvel content that they can pretty much have the freedom to do anything they want. I mean, we've already seen that with Spider-Man: No Way Home, and obviously we're gonna see that in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. Um, so really, they have a lot of freedom to do what they want now with these shows, and like you said, like it's just about these characters. I mean, granted, they do have like a bunch of supporting cast that come along with each character, um, but it just depends on like the story and how you weave it in. But I think definitely Daredevil has the most potential. I think for a reboot, I think a lot of fans have been wanting it for a long time. I think Kevin Feige is really like listening to the fans, and that's why he brought him back into Spider-Man: No Way Home. So I think they're really like trying to like set the pieces up for something, right? Even if it's not now, definitely down the line, there could be something there. And I think that's why, like with She-Hulk and Echo, I think they're trying to like, reestablish these characters like in this universe because we haven't seen them in so long. So maybe it'll be more exploration, like what was going on in that time between like the last season of their shows and then now, right? So we're up to speed. So I can't see anything much with, like you said, like Jessica Jones. Maybe something with Luke Cage. I'm not sure because it was such a self-contained show. Maybe it's something like he helps, maybe like Bucky and Falcon or something because they're in New York or something. I think Iron Fist definitely I could see like with Shang-Chi, like they especially because that cliffhanger with Shang-Chi too there and Wong obviously like maybe he's recruiting for something big in the future, but I don't know. Time will tell. But for the most part, I enjoyed watching these shows. I think they're really like a big part of the evolution of Marvel. Not just as like the MCU, but I think Marvel, like in general, like we really saw like, they pushed the limits of what these characters could be. Um, but yeah, any other final thoughts you want to add?
Well, what shows would you like to see in the future? Like, 'cause since Netflix, like Marvel shows was so groundbreaking at the time, right? For like intimate scale, like conflicts that happen. What character would you like to see Disney Plus adapt to make it really gritty as well? Like we have Moon Knight, obviously, right? So,
I would love to see something from the X-Men.
oh, that's interesting.
Maybe a Wolverine show,
Oh, that's really
possibly.
great. Yeah.
Or something because I feel like, or Fantastic Four, I feel like would be perfect
Hmm.
for a TV show too. Because yeah, we've kind of been like set with like Avengers level characters, but I kind of want to see like the other sides of Marvel too that we haven't. And I think they're kind of setting that up with like Moon Knight and Blade too. So maybe we could see like darker like elements. But I think definitely the X-Men have a lot of potential to be, because we had the New Mutant show, which was, it had like a cult following. I didn't really follow it. I don't know if you did. But
Yeah, I
I
think
think like
so.
the X-Men could be really cool as like a series. Like it doesn't have to be like all the X-Men. Like maybe that's how they establish like the mutants into the MCU, right? Because I don't know if they're really called mutants in the MCU, but I think Doctor Strange is gonna sort that out. But what would you want to see like as far as like a TV show?
Honestly, I want to see like, Spider-Man No Way Home. I want to see a Spider-Man show. I feel like I always felt like Spider-Man will fit so well with a TV series. I feel like that's how you make the best live action Spider-Man adaptation is through a television series because you have episodes where you could take your time with character growth and discovering mysteries of different villains and exploring just the plethora of the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery. And I feel like that would have been really strong. And you could make it really also gritty at times because he's really doing everything by himself now, right? With the homemade suit. He's learning also, and he has to figure out how to not cross that line like he almost did with Green Goblin. And possibly he's going to meet somebody even stronger down the line. I think that'll make a wonderful television series. Unfortunately, Sony probably wouldn't allow that because they kind of want, even like Spider-Man movies aren't on Disney Plus, for Tom's rendition. Yeah, that. It's hard to say because when you make a television show, you have to figure out if it's going to be grand in scale, but like that's the great thing about Disney too, because they, in a way, they make them grand in scale. It's like something you've never seen before. It's so huge, and you feel like a lot of these shows will end up in the theaters. So I feel like anything you can really say can show up. I mean, look, I never expected to see Hawkeye as a television series, and they did it right. So unless you want to do a different Avenger, uh, on there. I don't know. I mean, again, there's so many characters to choose from already, and so many that we can explore. Obviously, we have Moon Knight, which I'm really glad to see. And again, the redesign for that costume is amazing. Blade is really weird to have a show. Like, I mean, to have a movie. I felt like that's like so random. You would think that they would have a movie. I mean, a show, not a movie. See,
Mhm.
that's why I keep getting confused because it is confusing. It's like why
Especially
haven't
after we
yeah.
had Blade movies come out, you would think they would want to adapt it for like modern television or something.
Yeah, like it's really strange. And again, is this going to be rated R? Maybe they'll do like a funny if X-Men is really incorporated into I'll say DCEU. If X-Men's really incorporated into this, perhaps a Deadpool show on Disney
Oh yeah,
Plus.
we still have Deadpool out there.
Yeah, like a funny type of, or it could be like a
Hmm.
mini series. I don't know. It could end up badly, like The Boys Diabolical, because that was kind of like
Oh
too
yeah.
jokey and like grotesque. I don't know.
Mm.
But yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you guys so much. We made it to the end, and Dylan, take us away.
Well, thank you guys again for joining us for our Defenders Revisited. We can't wait to cover future Marvel content, like Akram said. Moon Knight will be dropping very soon, so we can't wait to do episode by episode reviews for that. So stay tuned. We got a lot of more great content coming for you guys. So make sure you're following the podcast on YouTube, Anchor, Google, Google Podcast, and Apple Podcasts, of course, and Spotify. So we're on a bunch of different platforms, and you can follow our Instagram socials. We also have a lot of great content that we do separately. So Akram has Green Steel channel. Definitely check out his reviews because I'm sure he's going to be coming out with a lot of his own video essays
soon.
for future projects too.
Thank
and his
you.
Instagram is great. Like if you want to like just follow like Marvel like concept art and stuff,
Thank you.
really check it out. But thank you again, guys. We appreciate you. So make sure you like and subscribe. And until then, guys, thank you for having lunch with us.
See you guys. Gets copyright strike. All right.
I sing it so good that they copyright strike.
Oh god, that is so stupid. You sing it so good. That's so stupid. And I can't take it out. I'm like so stupid.